Welcome to Meaningful Morning. The last time I wanted my birthday to be celebrated was when I was in my early 20s. Since then, I stopped understanding why adults want their birthday to be celebrated. And people who go to such birthday parties are only encouraging such a choice. It's even less understandable when such a birthday party makes one miss or even compromise on satsanga, on seva. This is why in our culture, for those who feel this, when we think of Gandhiji's Jayanti or birthday, which is today, we don't think of organizing a party where there's more socializing. What I think about is how he's an icon of service. Relatedly, on Puja Swami Chinmayananda's Jayanti, what do we honor that day as? Seva Day. In our silence retreat, we completed 72 hours last night. I had shared with all of those sincere seekers, whatever you identify with, you follow. If I identify with family and friends only, then that's what I follow. Parties are more important than satsanga. Today is Gandhiji's Jayanti. I'm sharing that for the second time. And I was reflecting a lot on what he means to me, what he means to us, and a quote that is inspiring me right now, which I'm sharing with you. It's easy to stand in the crowd, but it takes courage to stand alone. In a period of integrity or Satya Yoga, right is might. In a period of hypocrisy or Kali Yoga, might is right. In Meaningful Mornings, we try to be courageous, where you follow what is right, not what everyone else is following. And this is a gauge for you. If you're becoming more courageous, can you say no to adult birthday parties, to social gatherings, and so on? This morning, I needed to sleep an extra hour and a half, but I was thinking about all of you. And so to help me wake up, I was listening to Mahishasura Mardini, that I'm a buffalo and someone needs to kill this buffalo. And so on this video, Shuka happened to be sitting across from me. He saw Bhagavati Devi, this amazing woman who's fighting against these other beings who are looking vicious and looking exuding darkness. So Shuka asks me, what is selfishness? Because he's heard me share that she is selflessness and they are selfishness. So he had asked me, what is selfishness? And I shared with him, it is when you don't listen to others. So I meant that in two ways. One, at a parental level, stop being selfish. But more so, when you don't listen to others, you feel your own narrative is always the right narrative. People who are stuck in their heads, they're like that. People who don't attend study groups, they don't want to. Their ego is inhibiting them from listening to another narrative. Shri Krishna is systematically pointing out what selfishness is, or asuri sampatti. That way we can identify the disease and start to fight it. If you don't know an enemy, how can you win the battle, win the war? In verse 7, Shri Krishna gives a gauge of someone who's selfish. Nasatyam. Nasatyam means they do not have an ideal to follow. And like Malcolm X has shared, if you don't stand up for something, you fall for everything then. In verse 8, Shri Krishna says, Asatyam, that's continuing from verse 7, leads to kama ahetukam. What else will one follow other than kama? Kama means pleasure, and a lot more is shared in the verse we're going to study. Put simply, it is someone who consumes more than what they produce. They only know themselves, and so only live for themselves and their own. In verse 9, Shri Krishna is more strong about this notion of being selfish. He describes them as jagat ahitaha. Hita means to help, someone who's helpful. Ahita is someone who harms, one who harms our world, harms our multiverse. Sheila, in addition to being an attorney, she also facilitates an Airbnb. Now, for anyone who has a rental property of some sort, you want guests that come, that pay, and keep the property neutral. Even better is that pay and make the property better. You don't want people to use the property who make it worse. Yes, to try to understand this more. I'm reading Pujaswami Chinmayananda's intro to verse 10. The viewpoint of life of a materialist and their motives in their everyday life are beautifully described in the following stanzas. I really like how Pujaswami Chinmayananda shared everyday life, because it shows that a selfish person justifies why they live like this. If I do this once in a while, maybe my justification is right. But if one is living like this every day, that ego is consuming them. Verse 10, Kamam ashritya dushpuram dambamana madanvitaha mohan grihitvan sadgrahan pravartante shuchivrataha. I'll explain this more word by word. Kama, joy, first of all. Kama. In these verses, Sri Krishna is almost like introducing the thought and then elaborating on it. Introducing the thought, elaborating on it. In verse 9, he talked about someone who is an enemy to this multiverse. Shri Krishna is now sharing in more detail what's happening in their inner world to cause them to behave in their outer world like this. Kama means pleasure. Dushpuram means pleasure that goes on and on and on. Ashritya means established or habit. When one pursues pleasure, there's no completion in pleasure. But one doesn't analyze this accurately So they pursue more pleasure, more combinations, more permutations. And this leads one to have such a habit, such a vasana. If one ingests intoxicants, you have to ingest more and more and more to maintain that high, correct? Cigarettes, alcohol, etc. With this quarter, I was thinking about devices. I was thinking about gadgets. I feel, and one of the first gadgets I had was a Nintendo. It's almost like such gadgets and devices have a self-destruct mode, that after so many years, they'll stop working. Why? So you buy the next one, and you buy the next one. Pleasure is like this too, but the nature of pleasure is far more invasive. You can't really create a video game system to blow up after 5 years. Pleasure does have that built into it. Then Shri Krishna shares, when one's only purpose is comfort, that which is ordinary, they live by dambha, which is hypocrisy. But hypocrisy has its roots in mana, which means arrogance. Arrogance has its roots in mada, which is egotism. So systematically, psychologically hashed out. Hypocrisy comes from arrogance, arrogance comes from egotism. In our retreat this weekend, I'd shared with our seekers, the ego is illusory. On top of this illusion, we now have the equipment. On top of this illusion, we now have our experiences. So really, we're going about trying to find reality, living in a illusion compounded on an illusion, compounded on an illusion. What kind of sense does that make? If there's ego, all of the emotions that come from that ego are going to be selfish. For those who are being sensitive to how powerful our silence retreats are, the next silence retreat will be January 26th to the 28th for 50 hours, 50, only virtually. Registration will start a month before. The third quarter is quite scary. Mohat, which means in illusion. Feeling illusion is real, so one is delusional. Grihitva, having held. Asat, grahan, values a way of life that is asat, not oriented towards existence or truth or inclusivity. Why I shared this quarter is frightening. Grihitva means having held. The implication is how you are living is your choice. So whatever you're feeling is your choice. Please do not say it's because my family pressured me to do this, or my work is forcing me to do this. Shri Krishna is clear here. You are choosing to identify and follow such falsity. The ordinary person deflects. I'm like this because of my parents. But the reflective person, even if I'm like this because of my parents, but today is because of me. Pravartante ashuchi vrataha. Pravartante, they work. This is their lifestyle. Ashuchi. It is aligned with impurity. It's my final thought. Many of you are registered for the highest vocation. I think more than 100, which is so cool. We're going to start in 12 days. 12 days. When I start to share insights into contemplation, here are the 4 P's to try to remember in advance. Purification triggers preparation, which triggers process. Here, process means contemplation, which triggers peace. Peace is the ends, but tell me, what is the beginning? Purification. One's lifestyle has to be aligned with purity to feel peace, but here Sri Krishna is sharing, if one's lifestyle is ashuchihi, impure, then one is always going to feel incomplete. These verses are hard. That which is hard makes you tougher. From inspiration to application. Your application from Friday was to overtly wear an orange shirt. How many of you did this? Good. I saw the recording from Meaningful Morning, so I saw some of you. In our silence retreats, I inhibit and prevent people from chanting mantras, to not engage in japa. And many are confused by this because in Meaningful Mornings and Vedanta and Bhagavata, it's the exact opposite. Why I do this is because sometimes the chanting of mantras or the rituals we engage in become mechanical. This stoppage of that helps us to become intentional again before we all moved to America and Canada, before we were born in America and Canada, before our kids were born in, before they were born in America and Canada, the indigenous culture and community was here. Wearing this orange t-shirt is to help us to be more intentional, to know that's the truth, and to treat the indigenous culture and community the way you want to be treated as an immigrant. Yes? Your application for today, as you go about your day and making decisions, try to reflect on, what would Gandhiji do? What would Gandhiji do? Would he get a mango smoothie or an avocado smoothie? What would Gandhiji do? So please, try to make decisions along him being an icon of past family and community and society is humanity. When Bharat became free, dozens of other countries became free then, correct? Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Enjoy.